I see too many firms that, they see another competitor do a billboard and they think, oh my gosh, I need to be doing billboards. And it's like,
Right.
should you be doing a billboard? Do you even have a functional intake system and team in place? Are you
Right. Right.
running other digital tactics like retargeting? Like there's just so much foundation that firms are missing that
Mhm.
could drive them more cases. And I feel like they're getting distracted by those shiny objects. So our the whole Pareto concept is we help firms really focus in the areas of their business that'll help move the needle for them.
Get ready to be amazed. Get ready to be transformed. Get ready to believe it is possible. You're entering the growth zone on the Guts and Glory Show with your host, Louise Scott.
Hey guys, my name is Luis, and I am the host of the Guts and Glory Show, a show dedicated to helping you learn just a little more so that you can be bigger and better than you were before. And I'm really excited for our guest today, Bo Royal, the founder of the Pareto Legal marketing agency. He's going to be telling us some concepts about developing your marketing so that it gives you more, because there's nothing better than good ROI. I'm telling you, if you want to have good ROI, you got to have a good marketing strategy. And so I'm excited to share some of these tactics. And I know before the call we were talking, and I was excited just to hear about this Pareto principle for marketing, because if you're aware of the Pareto principle, you know the 80-20 rule. If you're not, you're going to hear about it here. But we want to know, how does that apply in marketing, and how do we make a marketing scheme that helps us grow? As a consultant for 8-figure firm, I tell people you can go from 1 million to 10 million in 5 years or less, but you can't do it without a good marketing plan. And so, Bo, thank you for being here, and looking forward to hearing your story. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Luis. Great to meet you. And yeah, looking forward to getting into it today.
So tell us a little bit about, how did you get into legal marketing? It feels like people who get into legal marketing didn't like come out of college and go, I want to be a legal marketer. It's like they got there somehow. And I'm curious, how did you get into this?
Yeah, it was kind of a happy accident, right? So I've always been in the marketing kind of agency space in my career. And before I got into the legal marketing world, I was actually working for eBay's marketing solutions division, where I worked with their largest e-commerce clients. I was managing budgets upwards of like $250 million a year just for a single client. So these were massive brands, but I quickly became disillusioned with like the big agency life. I got burned out. I was like in my late 20s. I was like, I want to be doing something else and not working 70, 80-hour weeks. And I did kind of a 180, and I ended up becoming a marketing director for a large injury law firm in Philadelphia. And when I joined that law firm, something crazy happened. Two of my clients from the agency approached me and said, do you want to freelance for us? And that was like a light bulb moment for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm good enough at this that people want to pay me directly. I don't have to, work for someone else and get paid that way. So that kind of started my entrepreneurial journey. And so the reason I bring that up is because I kind of have built this agency while I was getting the on the hands-on legal marketing experience working as a marketing director for an injury law firm. So that's my background in a nutshell.
It's interesting because you were essentially working with products, right? E-commerce and so forth. I even saw that you worked for Calvin Klein, or did some work for Calvin Klein.
Yep.
How does the product business really differ from the service-based business when it comes to marketing? What have you seen have been the differences, if any?
Sure. I mean, seasonality is one thing, right? When it comes to consumer products, there's a lot of ebbs and flows based on the quarter, based on the month. Obviously, we're in a peak season for e-com right now, it being around the holidays, where with service-based businesses, it tends to be more even keel, more steady throughout the year. The other fundamental difference, I would say, comes around the goals, right? So with e-commerce, it's fairly straightforward. Your goal is to drive as many sales as possible. With law firms and lead gen specifically, on the front end, obviously the goal is to generate as many leads as possible. So in the case of a law firm, a lead could be a phone call, a form submission, a live chat submission, so on and so forth. But that's only the first step in that potential customer's journey. You then need to track, is the lead a qualified lead? Do they have the qualifications that make them a viable lead for your firm? And then does the lead turn into an actual client, right? So there's more onus on that tracking and attribution piece when it comes to running marketing for a law firm.
I definitely agree. Now, do you work specifically with personal injury firms, or have you expanded into other practice areas?
We work predominantly with personal injury firms, but we have dabbled in other practice areas as well.
When you work with personal injury firms, what do you believe is that like the biggest hesitation that people have in spending money in marketing? Because I worked at a previous law firm before I became partners in this current law firm. And in all of my years there, we were if you do good work, people will come strategists, right? We didn't spend a lot of money in marketing. And one time we decided that we were going to go out there and we were going to hit it big. We were going to go out there. We had a big case. We were going to spend a whopping $5,000 a month. I mean, we were just going to go all in. So there's probably a lot of firms like that. And I can tell you why we were like that. But what do you see today, the hesitancy being in spending money in marketing, when we know that every big company markets? Like, why are law firm owners so hesitant to market?
This show has been brought to you by 8-Figure Firm Consulting. At 8-Figure Firm, we help law firms turn into law businesses. Stop wasting your time with gurus who've never built a successful business. At 8-Figure Firm, we'll show you how to unleash the power of your law firm for personal and financial freedom. For more information, go to 8figurefirm.com. Welcome back to the Guts and Glory Show with your host, Luis Scott.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, and I'll give you a specific example. So my agency specializes in pay-per-click marketing for law firms. And when I'm speaking with prospective law firm clients, one of the objections I hear is, well, PPC is too expensive. It's too competitive. It's not going to work for me, right? And the reality is it ultimately depends on some fundamental factors within your firm. One fundamental factor would be how strong your intake system is. If you're not set up to handle incremental leads and you can confidently convert those leads into clients, of course, pay-per-click's not going to work. Nothing is going to work to help your firm. You need to get that key foundation in place before you can start taking on more leads and more clients. The other thing I would say too is budget is definitely going to matter as well. So, you gave the example, Luis, of a $5,000 budget. If you're looking to make a splash in your given market with an advertising campaign, $5,000 is really going to limit the amount of leads and cases that you're going to be able to drive. So I'm not saying that, if you have $5,000, don't spend it on something like that. But what I would encourage firms to do is there's a tool, it's free. It's Google's Keyword Planner tool, and it's accessible in their Google Ads interface. You can actually go and look at the estimated monthly search volume and the estimated costs for keywords in your given market. So that's a common exercise that I'm doing with prospective clients is we're actually pulling up one of our calculators. We're pulling that data into our calculator and we're estimating, all right, if we were to spend $10K a month or $15K a month, here's how many clicks we think we can get. And more importantly, here's how many leads and cases we think we can get. And here's the associated cost per case and estimated ROI from that investment. So really you need to do that napkin math up front before you just start spending money and hoping that you're going to figure it out. You really have to have a baseline understanding of where you're at from a conversion rate perspective. And then obviously you need to have the budget to be able to make a splash in your market.
Everybody wants to know two questions, the answer to two questions. And so I'm going to try to get you to answer these. And I know, do not tell me it depends. Okay. You got to answer these questions.
Okay.
All right. The first one is, what is the minimum spend that I have to spend on pay-per-click to be competitive? Give me a range if you want to, because I want my law firm owners to hear this. They need to hear what it is that you need to spend in order to really be competitive, number one. And then number two, what should we be expecting? Again, give me a range in terms of cost of acquisition if I do pay-per-click. And you can use anecdotal, and we'll put the disclaimer, we can't guarantee these results for you. This is results of clients in the past and so forth. But so what do I need to spend to be competitive? Because I knew 5,000 wasn't enough. And what do I need to expect for the cost of acquisition, assuming I have a relatively decent intake department?
If you're focusing on a single practice area, let's say, I think a minimum viable budget to generate consistent lead and case volume in a given market, and when I mean market, I'm talking city, right? I'd say at least $10,000 a month. In terms of average acquisition costs for our PI clients, and by the way, there are subsets of case type within the personal injury spectrum.
Of course,
but I would say on average, case cost would be somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 per case. So you're looking at, something like 4 to 6 cases on a $10,000 budget.
Right. So if you're a law firm owner, any service-based business, and you come in the game and you go, I'm going to get a client for every $100, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. No. So you have to be ready to really commit to the spend, and you have to be ready to commit to, for $10,000, you're going to get about 4 cases. Like, that's the way it's going to work. And so I think that that's really important for people to hear. Now, you have the Pareto principle for marketing. It's a concept that I guess your business has been developed around, right? That's why it's called Pareto Legal. Tell us about that concept. How is it different from other marketing agencies? Like, what is it that you do differently?
Sure. So diving first into the Pareto principle for the viewers that aren't aware of it, really that concept is about 20% of the inputs yield 80% of the outputs. So if you, and this concept applies to everything from business, marketing, agriculture, like it's kind of a law of the universe, if you will. And so when we apply it to marketing for law firms specifically, if you were to look at the cases that your law firm is generating from your marketing efforts, about 20% of your marketing efforts are driving 80% of your cases, right? And in the context of law firms specifically, there are a few key areas that law firms need to focus on if they want to unlock that 80-20 growth. The first would be budget allocations. So something I commonly see law firms make a lot of mistakes with is they get shiny object syndrome, and they think, oh, my competitors are running billboards, I need to run a billboard campaign. Oh, my competitors are running TV ads, I need to run a TV campaign. Those are very top of funnel awareness driving tactics that most law firms, like small to medium sized law firms, should not be dipping their toes in yet until they get a proper foundation in place. The proper foundation would be first advertising digitally, specifically on bottom of funnel tactics. So these are tactics like retargeting campaigns. These are tactics like going after non-brand injury, lawyer, law firm keywords, optimizing their Google business profiles so that they show up in the local results, and then doing what needs to be done from an SEO perspective so that people can find their sites organically. That's like square one implementation foundation for law firms. The other thing I would say too is they need to look at their intake. I already kind of alluded to this earlier, but if your firm cannot confidently and predictably convert leads, you're not, and any marketing effort that you do, any incremental leads that you generate, they're just going to fall flat. You're going to be spending money on all these leads and nothing's going to stick to your bones. So that's another key area that we help our clients focus on. And then the third is tracking and reporting. So once you get these systems set up, once you're running digital advertising campaigns, once you have an intake system in place, you need to make sure that you have the tracking and the metrics to be able to manage those different campaigns or tactics in real time. So for example, if you're a personal injury firm, and let's say you want to start generating more motor vehicle accident cases and you build a separate campaign for that, if you don't have the right tracking in place, you're not going to be able to see what ROI am I getting from this investment. Or on the flip side, if you're starting to drive more MVA leads and you don't have the right tracking reporting set up from an intake perspective, you have no way to determine, is my intake team doing a good job of converting these leads, or are they just letting them fall to the wayside? So I'd say the big three that we are commonly helping our clients with are around budgeting, intake, and measurement and reporting.
Yeah, and I think that that's all critical because one of the I guess mistaken beliefs about a lot of law firm owners is that somehow things are not interdependent. If I spend more money on marketing, I should therefore sign more cases. No, you may get more leads, but you're not going to necessarily sign more cases unless you have a very solid sales And if I sell more cases, then I'm going to have a good ROI. No, if the production is not doing a good job, you're not going to extract the best value. So like everything in your law firm is really an connected or interdependent web of activity, and we have to make sure that we shore everything up in order for us to get the result that we want. Now, one of the biggest debates that I get into when I work with law firm owners is this idea of direct attribution. And I think that in the PPC campaign and the direct response kind of stuff, you can see direct attribution. Yep. But when you go to branding, the billboard game, the TV game, the radio game, and some of these other branding tactics, you can't. And people want to be able to know. And I tell them it's not that easy to know. So how do you work with someone who is in the brand space, who is spending money doing things that are not easily tracked? How do you get them to see that there's still a benefit to the marketing efforts, even when the attribution of that marketing effort doesn't seem to be there?
Sure. It's a really, really good question. And, I wish there was a world where you could run a TV ad and get that direct attribution. It's never going to happen. So instead, what we advise our clients to do is have a top-down approach to looking at their marketing investment, and then also a bottom-up approach. So top-down would be simply looking at revenue generated from marketing efforts divided by total marketing costs. This is what's called marketing efficiency ratio. And you can look at this over time. And when I mean over time, I mean like over a course of quarters or years to see, okay, if I've introduced a new branding tactic, maybe I'm running more billboards now, maybe I'm doing more TV. Is the overall case volume and revenue of my firm growing? If yes, then you can assume, all right, these tactics are doing good things, but you're not going to be able to precisely point to any single one tactic and be like, okay, yeah, it's the TV ad that I ran on this date with this creative, so on and so forth, right? So that would be the top-down approach. From a bottom-up perspective, there's a lot of great data available from a digital marketing lens that'll enable you to see, are my branding tactics generating more bottom of funnel awareness? And so what I mean by that is you can look at things like branded search. So if you're ABC law firm and you just started running billboard, TV, and radio campaigns over the last 12 months, you should assume that the number of branded searches over time for ABC law firm would increase. And you can actually go and look at that within Google Analytics. You can look at that on Google's Google Trends tool. But that's another, bottom up thing that you can look at. The other thing I would look at as well is organic homepage traffic over time. Because again, if more and more people are hearing about your law firm, odds are they're going to Google, they're typing your name in, and they're jumping onto your homepage. So that's another, secondary KPI that you could look at and expect to see increase if you're investing more and more in branding over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bo, tell us one thing that most people just don't know about legal marketing that you have been able to crack the code on. What's that one thing?
I would say conversion rate optimization is probably the biggest one. And what I mean by conversion rate optimization is it's not just intake, it's the click to landing page experience. We do a lot of A/B testing with our clients on their landing page experience, where we're running split tests, we're testing new headlines, we're testing new value propositions. And this is an area where I think a lot of agencies like mine fall short, is they build some landing pages, they push traffic to them, and it's just kind of like, all right, our job here is done, and it's on autopilot from there, where we're constantly testing new landing pages. We're constantly testing, all right, we're going to move this form here, or we're going to make this a two-step form, or we're going to add a live chat onto this page, things like that. So I guess, I would tell anyone listening, if they are investing significant budget into a digital campaign, if they're sleeping on conversion rate optimization, specifically like landing page testing, they are leaving significant money on the table. So
we've talked a lot today about setting the proper foundation, the Pareto principle and the concept, A/B testing, budget allocations, the top-down approach, the bottom. I mean, there's so much that we could actually get into more granularly, but I know there's someone listening right now. They said, I need to figure out a way to get in touch with Bo. What would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Visit our website at legal.paretoppc.com, and you'll be able to book time on my calendar. And if you ever have any questions, you can just set up a call with me.
Awesome. Bo, thank you for being here. Really enjoyed the talk. And you've been listening to the Guts and Glory Show.
You've been listening to the Guts and Glory Show. For more and to learn more about Luis, hit the website at luisscottjr.com. For consulting opportunities, hit 8figurefirm.com. That's the number 8figurefirm.com. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and we'll see you next time on the Guts and Glory Show.